The ship called Persistent Hope moved slowly through the darkness of space. Captain Elena Vasquez stood at the front window and looked at the destruction around them. She had seen many terrible things in her years of traveling between stars, but nothing like this. Everywhere she looked, there were broken ships. Not small ships. These were massive warships, each one bigger than a mountain. They belonged to the Draconians, one of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. The Draconians had traveled between stars when humans were still living in caves. They had built empires that lasted for thousands of years. They looked down on younger species like humans, the way a giant might look at an ant dot, and now their ships floated in pieces across the empty space, burning and dead. What could do this? Asked Marcus Chun, the ship's engineer. He was a thin man with tired eyes and grease-stained hands. He had spent 20 years fixing things that other people said could not be fixed. But even he looked scared now. Yuki Tanaka, the ship's doctor, stood beside him. She was small and quiet, but her eyes were sharp. I count at least 40 destroyed ships, she said. This was not a battle. This was a massacre. Elena nodded slowly. The Persistent Hope was a salvage ship. They survived by finding broken things in space and selling them. It was not a proud life, but it was honest work. Humanity was still new to the stars. They did not have the technology or the power of the elder species. They survived by being clever, by being careful, and by picking up the pieces that others left behind. We should leave, Marcus said. Whatever did this might still be nearby. He was right. Elena knew he was right. But something made her hesitate. She looked at the burning ships and felt a strange pull in her chest. Scan for life signs, she said. Marcus looked at her like she had gone crazy. Captain, these are Draconian ships. Even if someone survived, they would not want our help. They hate humans. They think we are insects. Scan anyway. Marcus sighed, but he did as she asked. His fingers moved across the controls. The ship's sensors reached out into the darkness, searching through the wreckage for any sign of life. For a long moment, there was nothing. Just dead metal and cold fire. Then a small light appeared on the screen. There, Yuki said, pointing. One life sign. Very weak. It is coming from that large ship. Elena looked at the ship Yuki indicated. It was a dreadnought, one of the biggest Draconian warships. Half of it was missing, torn away by whatever weapon had destroyed it. But deep inside the remaining section, something was still alive. We are going in, Elena said. Captain, Marcus started. I know it is dangerous. I know they would not do the same for us. But I cannot fly away and leave someone to die alone in the dark. I will not do that. Marcus and Yuki exchanged a look. Then Marcus shrugged. I will get the suits ready, he said. They docked with the broken dreadnought and made their way inside. The halls were dark and filled with smoke. Bodies lay everywhere, massive Draconian warriors in their armor, cut down by weapons that had burned through metal like paper. Elena tried not to look at them too closely. The life sign led them deeper into the ship, past broken doors and collapsed hallways. The air grew colder. The lights flickered and died. They walked in darkness, following the small beacon on their scanners. Finally, they reached a storage room. The door was sealed shut, but Marcus managed to force it open. Inside, hiding behind a pile of broken containers, they found her, a Draconian child. Elena had never seen a young Draconian before. She had only seen the adults, tall and proud and terrifying. But this one was small, barely taller than Elena herself. Her scales were deep purple, the color of royalty among her kind. Her golden eyes were wide with fear. She was injured, bleeding from a wound on her arm, and she was shaking. But what Elena noticed most was what the child was holding. She clutched something to her chest with desperate strength, a small object shaped like an 8-sided crystal. It was cracked and dark, no bigger than Elena's fist dot. The child saw the humans and pressed herself back against the wall. She hissed, showing small, sharp teeth. But she was too weak to run, too hurt to fight. Elena held up her hands slowly. She kept her voice soft. "We are not here to hurt you. We want to help." The child stared at her. Elena could see the fear in those golden eyes, but also something else. Something desperate. "You are humans," the child said. Her voice was rough, her common language broken. "Small, soft humans. Yes, my name is Elena. What is your name?" The child hesitated. Then, slowly, she spoke. "Cathris. I am called Cathris Saul." "Cathris. That is a beautiful name. Can you tell me what happened here?" "The machines came," Cathris whispered. "The cold ones. The Void Collective. They came and they killed everyone. My mother, my father, my aunts and uncles and guards. Everyone." Elena felt her heart break. She knelt down slowly, making herself smaller, less threatening. "I am so sorry, Cathris. We are going to get you out of here. We are going to take you somewhere safe." But Cathris was not looking at Elena anymore. She was looking down at the object in her hands, the cracked crystal. Tears fell from her golden eyes and ran down her purple scales. "Can you make him function again?" she asked. Elena blinked. "What?" Cathris held out the crystal with trembling claws. "Can you make him function again? Please. Please, you must help him." Elena took the crystal carefully. It was cold in her hands, and she could feel something strange inside it, like a faint heartbeat that was slowly fading. She looked at Marcus, who had gone very pale. "Captain," he whispered. "That is a memory core." Elena did not understand. "A what?" "A draconian memory core. It holds a person. Their mind, their memories, their soul. Everything that makes them who they are." Marcus swallowed hard. Someone put themselves into that device. Someone saved their consciousness before they died. Elena looked back at Cathris. The child was crying openly now, her small body shaking with sobs. "My brother," Cathris said. "Varric. He gave me this and told me to hide. He said he would find me. But he never came. He never came, and now the light inside is dying, and I cannot make it work, and please, please, you have to help him. Everyone says humans fix things. Everyone says humans make broken things work again. Please." Elena held the memory core in her hands and felt the weight of it. Not the physical weight, but the weight of what it meant. A child's brother. A dying soul. A desperate hope. She looked at Cathris, at those golden eyes full of tears and fear and the smallest spark of hope. "We will try," Elena said. "I promise you, we will try." They brought Cathris back to the persistent hope. Yuki cleaned her wounds and wrapped them in bandages. The child did not cry or complain. She just sat quietly and watched the memory core, which now rested on a table in the middle of the ship. The light inside the crystal was very faint. It pulsed slowly, like a weak heartbeat. Every few minutes, it flickered, and each time it did, Cathris made a small sound of fear. "Tell me about your brother," Elena said gently. She sat across from Cathris, giving the child space but staying close enough to offer comfort. Cathris was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. Varric Saul was 400 years old. That is young for our kind. Still almost a child like me. But he was brave. He was always brave. 400 years old and still considered young. Elena tried to imagine living that long. Humans were lucky to reach 100. To the Draconians, human lives must seem like the flicker of a candle. When the machines attacked, Kethris continued. Everyone fought. But there were too many. The cold ones, they do not stop. They do not feel fear or pain. They just keep coming. She shivered at the memory. Varric found me hiding in my room. He said we had to run. But the machines were everywhere. We could not escape. So he put himself into the memory core, Elena said. Yes, he said that as long as the core survived, he would survive. He said I should hide and wait for rescue. He said he would protect me. Kethris looked down at her claws. He went back to fight the machines. To give me time to hide. I heard the sounds of battle. Then I heard nothing. I waited in the dark for a long time. I thought no one would ever come. Elena reached out and took the child's claw gently. We came, and we are going to help. But even as she said the words, Elena was not sure if they were true. She looked at Marcus, who was studying the memory core with intense concentration. His face was worried. Marcus, what can you tell me? The engineer sighed and ran his hands through his hair. This technology is far beyond anything I have ever seen. Draconians have been building things like this for 10,000 years. I have been fixing ships for 20 years. It is like asking a child with building blocks to repair a computer. But can you do it? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. The core is damaged. There are cracks in the crystal structure. The energy matrix that keeps the consciousness stable is failing. If we do nothing, the pattern inside will break apart completely. Varric Saul will die. For real this time. Kethris made a small whimpering sound. Elena squeezed her claw. What do we need to fix it? Elena asked. Draconian equipment. Draconian engineers. Resources we do not have and cannot get. Marcus shook his head. I am sorry, Captain. I do not see how we can help. There must be something. There is always something. Elena, I am not a miracle worker. I fix engines and life support systems. I patch holes in the hull. This is a soul in a bottle. This is the most advanced technology in the galaxy. I cannot just stick it back together with tape and hope. Kethris stood up suddenly. Her golden eyes were fierce. Humans fix things, she said. This is what everyone says. My tutors told me. The Draconians laugh at humans because you are small and weak and your lives are short. But they also fear you. Do you know why? Elena shook her head. Because you do not know what is impossible. You look at something that cannot be done, and you do it anyway. You flew to your moon in ships made of metal and fire, with machines weaker than a child's toy. You taught yourselves to fly by jumping off cliffs and dying until you learned. You build things from nothing. You make things work that should not work. The child walked to Marcus and looked up at him. She barely reached his chest, but in that moment, she seemed much larger. I do not ask you to know how to fix this, Kethris said. I ask you to try. I ask you to be human, to look at the impossible and refuse to accept it. That is all I ask. Marcus stared down at the small purple dragon. Elena watched him, waiting. She knew her engineer. She knew the look that was slowly growing in his eyes. It would be ugly, Marcus said slowly. I would have to use parts from a dozen different species. I would have to break every rule of proper engineering. It would be held together with wire and prayers and stubbornness. Will it work? Kethris asked. It should not. That is not what I asked. Marcus let out a long breath. Then, for the first time since they had found the wreckage, he smiled. It was a small smile, tired and worried, but real. It might, he said. It just might. He walked to the memory core and picked it up carefully. The faint light inside flickered again, weaker than before. Yuki, I need you to look at everything we know about draconian biology. The neural patterns, the way their minds work. Find anything that might help. Yuki nodded and immediately went to her medical station. Captain, I need to take apart half the ship. We need parts. Power systems, data storage, energy regulators. Anything that can hold a signal or channel power. Take what you need, Elena said. We might not be able to put it back together afterward. We might strand ourselves out here. I do not care. Take what you need. Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Kethris, I need you to tell me everything you know about how this technology works. You are a child, but you are a draconian child. You have been learning things that human scientists cannot even imagine. I need your knowledge. Kethris stood up straighter. I will help. I will tell you everything I know. And so they began. For 3 weeks, the persistent hope became a workshop. Marcus tore apart systems and rebuilt them in new shapes. He welded human metal to draconian crystal. He used circuits from 17 different species. Some that he found in their cargo hold and others that he cut from the wreckage of the destroyed fleet. YUKI studied draconian biology and found something surprising. The way draconian minds worked was not completely different from human minds. They were more complex, much more complex, but the basic structure was similar. It was like comparing a river to an ocean. Different in scale, but still water. Kethr is explained concepts that made Marcus's head hurt. She talked about energy patterns and consciousness matrices and quantum stability fields. Marcus did not understand most of it, but he did not need to understand. He just needed to find ways to make it work. The device he built was ugly. It looked like something a child might make from spare parts and broken toys. Wires stuck out in strange directions. Different metals and crystals were pressed together in ways that should not be possible. There was tape holding some parts together. Actual tape. This is wrong, Kethra said, looking at the machine. This breaks every law of draconian engineering. This is almost blasphemy. Probably, Marcus agreed. But will it work? Kethra studied the device for a long time. Her golden eyes moved over every strange connection, every impossible junction. It might, she said finally. It should not, but it might. That was good enough for Marcus. That was good enough for all of them. But then they found the real problem. And the real problem was much worse than any of them had expected. The problem was simple to explain, but terrible to hear. Marcus gathered everyone together and placed the memory core in front of them. The jury-rigged machine surrounded it like a nest of wires and metal. The faint light inside the crystal still pulsed, but it was weaker now. They were running out of time. The device is ready, Marcus said. But there is a problem. The consciousness inside is damaged. It is breaking apart. The pattern that makes Varixal who he is, it is falling into pieces. Can your machine not fix that? Elena asked. No. The machine can hold the pieces together. It can give the consciousness a stable place to exist. But it cannot put the pieces back in the right order. That requires someone who understands how a mind works. Someone who can go inside and help rebuild it from within. There was silence in the small room. Then Yuki spoke up. You mean someone needs to enter the memory core? To connect their mind directly to Varric's mind? Yes. Is that possible? Marcus nodded slowly. Draconians do it sometimes. When a memory core is damaged, a trained specialist can enter the data space and help repair the consciousness. But we do not have a draconian specialist. We only have a human, Elena said. You are saying a human would need to go in. Yes, and that is where the real problem comes in. Marcus pulled up some information on the screen. It showed patterns and waves, representations of mental activity that Elena did not fully understand. Varixal is over 400 years old. His mind has been growing and developing for centuries. It is vast, complex, beautiful, probably. A human mind is much smaller. much younger. If a human tries to enter that dire space, they will be like a small boat in a massive storm. What would happen to them? Yuki asked quietly. Best case? They manage to help, but they come out with damage. Memory loss, confusion, pain that might never go away. Marcus paused. Worst case? Their mind breaks apart completely. They die, or worse, they end up trapped in there forever. Cathris made a small sound. Her claws were clasped together tightly. I did not know. I did not know it would cost so much. I cannot ask you to do this. Elena looked at the memory core. The light flickered again, weaker than before. How long does he have? She asked. Hours, maybe less. Elena closed her eyes. She thought about her life, about all the choices that had brought her here. She thought about her crew, who trusted her. She thought about her ship, which had carried her through dangers and darkness for years. Then she thought about Cathris, a child who had lost everything, who had watched her family die, who was clinging to the one piece of her brother that remained, begging strangers for help. She opened her eyes. I will do it. Captain, no. Marcus stepped forward. Let me. This is my machine. My responsibility. You built the machine. You are the only one who can run it from outside. If something goes wrong, you need to be here to fix it. Elena shook her head. It has to be me, Elena. Yuki's voice was barely a whisper. You could die. I know. You could lose your mind. I know. Then why? Elena looked at Cathris. The child was crying again, tears rolling down her purple scales. But she was not looking at Elena with hope anymore. She was looking at her with horror. No, Cathris said. No, I cannot let you do this. I cannot let you destroy yourself for my brother. You are good. You are kind. You came to help when no one else would. I will not let you die for us. Elena knelt down in front of the child. She took Cathris's claws in her hands and held them gently. Listen to me, she said. I have lived a good life. I have seen the stars. I have helped people when I could. I have a crew that I love and a ship that I am proud of. If I die today, I will die doing something that matters. But it is not fair. You do not even know Varric. You do not owe us anything. You asked for help. That is enough. Cathris stared at her. I do not understand. Why would you do this? Why would any human do this? We have never been kind to your people. We have looked down on you and called you primitive and treated you like nothing. Elena smiled. It was a sad smile, but warm, because that is not who I want to be. I do not want to be the person who flies away and leaves a child to lose her brother. I do not want to live in a universe where we only help people who have been good to us. I want to be better than that. I want humanity to be better than that. She stood up and turned to Marcus. Tell me what I need to do. The next hour was spent preparing. Marcus explained the process as simply as he could. Elena would lie down and connect to the machine. Her consciousness would be pulled into the data space inside the memory core. She would see Varric's mind as a kind of landscape, a world made of thoughts and memories. Your job is to find the pieces that are drifting away and help put them back together, Marcus said. You will not be able to do it alone. Varric will have to help you. You need to convince him to work with you. Convince a 400-year-old draconian to trust a human, Elena said. That sounds easy. He might refuse. He might attack you. He might not even recognize you as a real person. His mind is damaged, and you will look like an intruder. Wonderful. Just be yourself. Be stubborn. Be human. That is the only advice I can give. Elena lay down on the makeshift bed Marcus had created. Wires and sensors were attached to her head. The machine hummed around her. Yuk. I took her hand. Come back to us, she said. Please, I will try. Catherine stepped forward. The child reached out and touched Elena's face gently with one claw. Thank you, she whispered. Whatever happens, thank you. Elena took a deep breath. Okay, Marcus. I am ready. Closing your eyes might help, he said. This is going to feel strange. Elena closed her eyes. She heard the machine begin to work, a low sound that grew louder. She felt something pulling at her thoughts, at her sense of self. It was not painful, but it was wrong. Like being stretched in a direction that did not exist. Then everything went white. When she opened her eyes again, she was somewhere else. She stood in a vast space that had no floor and no ceiling. Around her were structures made of light, massive towers and bridges and walls that stretched in every direction. It was beautiful and terrifying. It looked like a city built by gods, but the city was falling apart. Pieces of the light structures were breaking off and floating away into darkness. The bridges collapsed silently. The towers crumbled. Everything was dying, slowly and quietly. Elena began to walk. Or something like walking. She moved through the space without feeling ground beneath her feet. She passed memories that floated like clouds, images of places and faces she did not recognize. She saw a purple world with 3 suns. She saw great halls filled with draconians in golden armor. She saw a small purple child taking her first flight. Catherine. That was Catherine as a baby. Elena moved deeper into the collapsing mind. She was looking for the center, the core of who Varric Saul was. She knew she would find him there, and she did. In the heart of the dying city, coiled around the last stable structures, she found him. He was massive, a presence that filled her entire vision, a consciousness that made her feel like a dust mite looking at a mountain. He saw her, and his first thought struck her like a physical blow. What is this? What are you? Elena stumbled, but did not fall. She straightened herself and looked up at the vast mind before her. My name is Elena Vasquez. I am human, and I am here to help you. A human? His thoughts were sharp with confusion and something else. Something like bitter laughter. They sent a human to save me? A mayfly? A primitive? Your sister asked for help. I said I would try. The great presence shifted. Elena felt something like wind rushing past her. Though there was no air. You will fail. And you will die here. For nothing. Elena looked around at the crumbling mindscape. She saw the memories drifting away. The personality falling apart. The 400 years of life dissolving into nothing. Maybe, she said. But I am going to try anyway. Elena opened her eyes and saw Yuki crying above her. She is awake, Yuki said, her voice breaking. Elena, can you hear me? Can you understand me? Everything hurt. Elena's head felt like it had been split open and put back together wrong. Her thoughts were slow and fuzzy. She could not remember where she was or how she had gotten there. What? Her voice came out as a rough whisper. What happened? You were gone for 6 days, Yuki said. Your body was here, but your mind. We thought we lost you. We thought you were never coming back. 6 days. Elena tried to process that. It had felt like hours inside the memory core. Just hours. Varric, she said. Is he? See for yourself. Yuki helped Elena sit up. It took all of her strength just to move. Her muscles felt weak, her bones felt heavy. But she managed to turn her head and look across the room. The memory core sat in its cradle of strange technology. But it was not dark and dying anymore. It glowed with a soft, steady light. The cracks in the crystal had sealed somehow. The whole device hummed with quiet energy. And sitting in front of it, her small claw pressed against the crystal, was Catherine's. Brother? The child said. She is awake. The human is awake. A voice came from the device. It was deep and warm and filled with emotion. Captain Vasquez, I owe you more than I can ever repay. Elena stared at the glowing core. Varek, you can talk. Your engineer is a remarkable man. He built a system that allows me to perceive the outside world and communicate. I cannot leave this core. I cannot have a body again. But I am alive. Thanks to you. Marcus was standing nearby, looking exhausted but proud. It is not perfect, he said. He cannot move around or interact with things. But he can see, hear, and speak. It is better than I expected. Kethris stood up and ran to Elena. The child climbed onto the bed and hugged her tightly. Elena gasped at the contact, her body still so weak, but she did not push the child away. You saved him, Kethris sobbed. You saved my brother. You are small and soft, and your lives are so short, but you saved him. Elena hugged the child back. We fixed him. That is what humans do. The next weeks were strange and difficult. Elena recovered slowly. Her memory had gaps now. There were things she could not remember, moments from her past that had simply disappeared. She also had headaches that came without warning, sharp pains that made her vision blur. It will be like this forever, Yuki told her gently. The damage is permanent. I am sorry. Do not be sorry, Elena said. It was worth it. And she meant it. Kethris stayed by Elena's side as she healed. The child talked to her for hours, telling her about draconian history and culture and science. She was trying to share her world with the human who had saved her brother. Varek talked too. From his crystal prison, he told Elena stories of his long life. He told her about wars and wonders, about things humanity had never seen. But mostly, he told her about his sister. She was always curious, he said one day. Even as a baby, she wanted to know everything about everything. I used to carry her through the gardens and name every flower for her. She is still curious, Elena said. She asked me questions constantly. How does your ship work? How do humans survive without scales? Why do you need to sleep so much? Varek laughed. It was strange to hear laughter coming from a crystal. That sounds like my sister. 3 weeks after Elena woke up, the sensors detected ships approaching. Many ships. Large ships. Draconian fleet, Marcus reported. At least 30 warships. They are responding to Kethris's distress signal. Elena felt a cold knot form in her stomach. The Draconians had come. Would they see the humans as saviors? Or as thieves who had stolen a royal child? The lead ship made contact. A face appeared on the screen. A female Draconian with gold scales and cold eyes. Her voice was hard as stone. Human vessel. You have a member of the royal family aboard. Explain yourselves. Before Elena could respond, Kethris stepped forward. Despite being a child, she stood tall. Her voice rang out clear and strong. Commander Veleth, I am Kethris Sol, 7th daughter of the High Matriarch. These humans rescued me from the wreckage of our fleet. They saved my life. And they saved the consciousness of my brother, Varek Sol, against impossible odds. The commander's expression shifted. Prince Varek survived? How? His memory core was damaged. The humans repaired it. They used technology that should not work, built from pieces of a dozen different species. Their captain entered the data space herself and helped rebuild my brother's mind. She nearly died doing so. There was a long silence. The commander stared at the screen, trying to process what she had heard. That is impossible, she finally said. Humans do not have that technology. Humans cannot interface with draconian consciousness. And yet they did. Varek's voice came from his crystal, strong and clear. Commander, I exist because of these humans. I was dying, and they saved me. Captain Elena Vasquez risked everything for a species that has shown her people nothing but Contempt. She did it because my sister asked for help. That was reason enough for her. The commander was quiet for a long time. Then she spoke again, and her voice was different now. Softer. Almost respectful. How? Why would she do such a thing? Elena stepped forward. She was still weak, still in pain, but she stood straight. Because a little girl asked me to help her brother. That is all. That is enough. The Draconian commander looked at her. For a moment, two very different beings stared at each other across the void of space. We will escort you to the nearest Draconian station, the commander said finally. Your ship will be repaired. Your supplies will be replenished. And you will be given letters of introduction to every Draconian port in the galaxy. Elena blinked. Commander, the debt of the royal house is not a small thing. You have saved the life of a prince and the innocence of a princess. The hegemony does not forget such things. The commander paused. And personally, I would like to understand your species better. Any people capable of what you have done deserve to be known. Kethris stepped forward one more time. Though she was small and young, something in her bearing had changed. She spoke with the weight of royal decree. These humans are under my house's protection. Forever. This is my word and my debt. Anyone who harms them answers to me. The story spread across the galaxy. It was not a story of human warriors or human conquerors. It was a story of a small salvage ship and its tired crew. A story of stubbornness and compassion. A story of a species that could not accept the word impossible. Other species heard the tale. Some laughed at the primitive humans who had dared to touch draconian technology. But others wondered. They remembered all the other impossible things humans had done. Flying to their moon with ancient machines. Crossing the void of space in ships held together with hope. Reaching for the stars with hands that should have been too small. The Void Collective heard the story too. The machine intelligence that had destroyed the Draconian fleet took note of the species that had saved what they had tried to destroy. These humans might be worth studying, they decided. These humans might be dangerous, but that was a problem for another day. For now, the persistent hope flew on, escorted by Draconian warships. Inside, Alana rested while Kethris read to her from Draconian books. Marcus slept for the first time in weeks. Yuki smiled and made tea for everyone. And from his crystal prison, Varric Sol watched his sister laugh with the human who had saved him. He thought about the strange little species that had appeared from nowhere and changed everything. Humans, he said softly, what impossible thing will you do next? Outside, the stars stretched on forever, full of wonders and dangers and stories yet to be told. And somewhere in that vastness, a small human ship carried a dragon's soul home, all because a child had asked for help, and humans fix things. Elena stood before the dying god and refused to look away. All around her, the mindscape continued to collapse. Great structures of memory and thought broke apart and drifted into darkness. Each beast that floated away was a part of Varric Sol that would never come back. A skill he had learned. A person he had known. A moment he had treasured. Why are you still here? The Great Presence asked. You see what is happening. You feel how vast I am, how small you are. You cannot save me. Go back to your body before you die with me. I did not come here to carry you out, Elena said. I am not strong enough for that. I came here to help you rebuild. Rebuild? There was something like anger in his thoughts. You cannot understand what I am. You cannot comprehend the complexity of a draconian mind. You are a child trying to repair a star. Then teach me. Tell me what to do. Work with me. The presence was silent for a long moment. Elena felt his attention focused on her, examining her, trying to understand what she was. Why? He asked finally. Why would you risk yourself for me? I am nothing to you. My people have given humanity nothing but contempt for 300 years, because Kethris asked me to. The name struck something deep in the dying mind. Elena felt a wave of emotion wash over her. Love, fear, desperate, terrible love. My sister. Is she safe? She is on my ship. She is scared and sad, and she misses you. But she is alive. She was supposed to run. She was supposed to escape while I fought the machines. She did run. She hid. She survived. Elena paused. She has been holding your memory core for weeks. She would not let go of it. Not even when we told her might be too damaged to save. Again, that silence. The great presence shifted and changed. Elena could feel something happening inside him. The bitter anger was fading. Something else was taking its place. You came here to die for a stranger, he said. For a species that has never shown your people kindness. I came here to help a brother who gave his life for his little sister. That is something I can understand. That is something that matters. And if you fail? If you die here, lost in my collapsing mind? Elena smiled, though she was not sure if Varric could see it. Then I died doing something good. There are worse ways to go. The presence was quiet. Then, slowly Elena felt something change. The hostile pressure that had been pushing against her faded. In its place came something gentler. Acceptance. Maybe even respect. Very well, little human. Let us try. They began to work. Elena could not understand most of what Varric saw was. His mind was too complex, too old, too vast. But she did not need to understand everything. She just needed to help Dodd. She found fragments of memory drifting away and caught them. She could not put them back in the right place by herself, but she could bring them to Varric. She could show him where the pieces were falling. Your pattern recognition, Varric said. The way you find connections. It is remarkable. Humans are good at seeing patterns, Elena said. Our ancestors looked at random stars and saw pictures. They looked at bones and told stories. We make sense of things. It is what we do. She chased down a cluster of memories that were spiraling away into darkness. When she touched them, she saw flashes of images. A purple child learning to fly. Small wings beating against the air. A bigger draconian catching her when she fell. Kethris, Varric said. Her first flight. I was so proud of her that day. Hold on to it, Elena said. Do not let it go. She moved through the collapsing mindscape, finding pieces and bringing them back. It was exhausting work. Every time she touched a memory or a thought, it pushed against her own mind. She felt herself getting lost in moments that were not hers. She felt Varric's emotions mixing with her own. She experienced his joy at watching his sister grow. She felt his pride in his family, his love for his people. She also felt his contempt for younger species. The casual dismissal of beings like humans. But mixed with that, contempt was something else. Curiosity. A quiet respect for the strange, little species that had spread across the stars so quickly. Humans were weak and small and short-lived. But they did not seem to know it. They kept trying. They kept building. They kept reaching for things that should have been impossible. You are in pain, Varric said. Your mind is being damaged by this. Elena had not noticed until he pointed it out. But now she could feel it. A burning sensation at the edges of her thoughts. A sense of things slipping away. I am fine. You are lying. I can feel your thoughts, little human. You are sacrificing yourself. I said I would help. I did not say I would stop. Why? The question came again, but different this time. Not angry or confused. Genuinely curious. What is it about humans that makes you like this? Elena thought about the question as she caught another drifting memory. This one was of Varric's mother, a massive draconian with scales like amethyst, teaching him to read ancient texts. I do not know. she admitted. Maybe it is because our lives are so short. We do not have time to be careful. We do not have time to wait and see if things will get better. If we want something to change, we have to change it now. That is foolish. Probably. But it is who we are. They kept working. Hours passed, or what felt like hours. Elena lost track of time. She lost track of herself. The boundary between her mind and Varek's began to blur. She saw his entire life flash around her. 400 years of experiences. Wars and peace. Love and loss. The slow rise of his family to power. The birth of his little sister, a tiny purple miracle that he had loved from the first moment he saw her. She saw the day the Void Collective attacked. The cold machine ships coming out of nowhere. The desperate battle. His mother getting orders even as the ship fell apart around them. His father dying to buy time for the others. And she saw his final choice. Putting his mind into the memory core. Handing it to Kethris. Telling her to run. Going back to fight, knowing he would not survive. You loved her so much, Elena said. She was not sure if she spoke out loud or just thought it. She is my sister. There was a simple truth in those words. An absolute certainty. Of course I loved her. Of course I died for her. What else could I have done? Elena felt tears on her face, back in the real world. She was not sure if they were hers or if she was feeling Varek's grief. The mindscape was stabilizing. Not perfect, not complete, but stable. The pieces that they had saved were coming together. The structures of light were rebuilding themselves. It is working, Varek said. His voice was stronger now, clearer. You are doing it, little human. You are actually doing it. We are doing it, Elena corrected. Together. She reached for one more drifting memory, a small fragment that was almost too far gone to catch. But she stretched herself, pushed herself further than she should have. The memory was of Kethris speaking her first word. Varek had been there. He had been the one she was speaking to. Brother. Her first word was brother. Elena caught the memory and brought it back. But the effort was too much. She felt something in her mind snap. Pain flooded through her. Human. Varek's voice was alarmed. Elena, you need to stop. You need to go back. Not yet. Not until it is done. It is done enough. I will survive now. But you will not if you stay any longer. Elena hesitated. She looked around at the mindscape. It was still damaged, still incomplete. But it was stable. Varek was right. He would survive. Go, he said. Go back to your body. Go back to my sister. Tell her I love her. Tell her I am proud of her. Tell her that a human saved my life, and I will never forget it. Elena felt herself being pushed. Gently but firmly, Varek was sending her back. Thank you, Elena Vasquez. His voice followed her as she fell through layers of consciousness. Thank you for being human. Then there was light. Then there was pain. Then there was nothing at all.